happy fucking Halloween. And if you can read the title of the video, you know that this year's Halloween video is a review of the 2022 Hellraiser. And I'm not a fan, as you can tell from the title. This is supposed to be a reimagining of Hellraiser. Before we move on, I will say that there are a fucking plethora of spoilers ahead. So if you don't want to be spoiled, turn the fucking video off, go watch this horrible fucking movie, and then come back and watch the video and just see how much of my angry ramblings that you might agree with. So, spoilers ahead. Let's move on to the fucking plot, if you can call it that. So, the plot starts out with Mystery Woman and Mystery Man meeting in fucking Serbia to exchange a large amount of money for the fucking puzzle box. Okay, so, fucking Mystery Woman gets a puzzle box, and we jump cut to the Berkshires in Massachusetts. We're then inside this giant colonial mansion, where we see stupid McFareyes, some fucking pretty boy with eyes so far apart that you could throw a football between them. Stupid McFareyes here is tricked into solving the final configuration of the puzzle box for Roland Voight, who I'm just going to call White Man McBad Guy. That's really all he is. There's no real development with this guy. Now, upon completing the final configuration, the chains come in and stupid McFareyes is getting sacrificed. This sacrifice is apparently the last step needed for White Man McBad Guy to have an audience with the god Leviathan, which is a little bit of franchise key jingling for fans of Hellraiser 2. And apparently White Man McBad Guy wants something or is supposed to get some kind of reward, but we don't know that yet. So that right there ends that, and we jump cut to two people fucking. The two people fucking are Riley and Trevor. And in the midst of this in-out, Trevor says, "I love you." And Riley does not take kindly to this, so she just ends the fuck session right then and there. Now, they both exit the bedroom, and when they do, they walk into the main area of the apartment where, apparently, her roommate, brother, and brother's lover were making dinner. I don't know if the dinner was planned or if Riley just forgot, but either way, this is the character introduction scene, and it's done just lame as shit. Not good like in Alien or Aliens or fucking Predator or any of the other movies that did the character introduction scene with a little bit of depth. This one, basically, everybody just introduces themselves to fucking Trevor. One roommate named Nora, Riley's brother named Matt, and Matt's lover named Colin. And Trevor's actually kind of irritated that Riley told anybody about him, so he up and leaves. They don't actually show the dinner, they just cut to the end of the dinner. Which, again, was a bad choice. But either way, so they cut to the end of the dinner, and Riley and Matt get into a fucking argument over Trevor, and Riley storms the fuck out. Now, I really can't stand Riley's character, and she goes through the whole movie with a swollen, chapped upper lip, which is just irritating to constantly look at, so I'm just going to call her Fat Lip McScruffy Face from now on. So, Fat Lip McScruffy Face decides she's just going to go to Trevor's place, where she actually admits that she could be wrong about this situation. Not that she is, but just that there's a possibility that she could be. Now, upon admitting that, she immediately says, "Fuck it, I'm just going to do it anyway, because what Matt doesn't know won't hurt him." Even though Matt's whole point wasn't about him, it was about her, but that's irrelevant, because she's got to do it her way. It's got to be all her way, no matter what, her way. She's just fucking irritating, but anyway. At this point, Trevor tells her about a burglary job, and so she decides, fuck it, let's do it. And they go to this abandoned warehouse and break into it. And once they break into it, they break into a storage container. In the storage container, there's a safe. They break into the safe in the most implausible fucking way possible. Once they get into the safe, they find yet another box which has the puzzle box in it. Trevor, being upset that there's no actual cash or bonds in the box, tells her to hold on to the puzzle box until he can fence it, and then they'll split the profits 50-50. She agrees to this, so she takes the puzzle box. When she gets home, she's drunk because they decided they were going to drink during and after the robbery. Matt flips out on Fat Lip McScruffy Face and throws her out of the house. So she takes her shit and she leaves. As she's getting in her car, she finds a stash of pills. Though she throws them away, again, she immediately changes her mind and picks them up off the ground and eats them. So she goes to get into the back of her car and instead takes the fucking puzzle box over to a playground, and while blitzed out of her mind, decides she's gonna fuck with the puzzle box on the merry-go-round. Once Fat Lip McScruffy Face solves this configuration of the puzzle box, it doesn't slash her. Luckily, it misses her, so there's no blood mark for this one. So when the Cenobite shows up, she can't really kill her. So instead, she says that Fat Lip McScruffy Face has to bring her another. And in doing so, kind of causes her to, like, mentally call out to her brother, who is at this time asleep, but then wakes up and is kind of compulsed to just go find her. So he goes out and he finds her, like, passed the fuck out at the playground, and when he sees her, he goes to pick up the puzzle box, and it cuts his hand. So he throws it away, he takes her over to a public toilet, and goes to wash his hand off, and there he's taken. Now, Fat Lip McScruffy Face doesn't actually see this happen, and neither do we, the audience. We just hear a scream, and he's missing. which is all she sees. So she doesn't even know if he's dead or what's going on at this point. But they call the cops don't help, and Colin and Nora and Fat Lip McScruffyface kind of get into a verbal argument, to which Fat Lip McScruffyface can't deal with it, so she runs away back to Trevor's house, and instead of trying to talk or sort it out, she decides time for her to fuck again. So she fucks him. Now during this roll in the hay, she looks over and sees that same Cenobite, so she flips out and kicks Trevor off of her and decides to explain the whole thing to him, to which he actually says he believes her. So they try to track down some information and figure out exactly who owned the warehouse that this fucking thing was in. They track her down and find out that it's the mystery lady at the beginning who originally bought the puzzle box. So they go and they talk to her and inadvertently get into an argument with her, which causes her to stab her hand on a new configuration of the puzzle box, which marks her. Now they leave. Mystery woman ends up getting taken, and they go back to fucking Trevor's house. Now, while they're at Trevor's house, they look on the internet and find out information about White Man McBadguy and a bunch of other people that went missing 6 years prior. At the same time, Trevor called the asylum where Mystery Woman was at and finds out that she suddenly went missing. Fat Lip McScruffyface decides that this is the only way that she can figure out how she can find Matt, which really doesn't make any fucking sense. But so Trevor is going, no, this shit's out of control. It's not safe. There's something wrong here. We need to get rid of this box and just forget about it. To which Fat Lip McScruffyface obviously argues. So he tries to take it and get rid of it. And, of course, she flips out and bails on him. And decides that she's going to go to White Man McBadguy's house, which was one of the locations she found in her research from 6 years ago. As Fat Lip McScruffyface gets to White Man McBadguy's house, it is now mysteriously covered in a giant metal cage, which kind of mimics the design that is on the puzzle box. So Fat Lip McScruffyface starts walking around the house and looking for a way in, and just happens to find an open window very conveniently placed over a fucking hole in this metal fucking cage that's around the house. So she sneaks into the house, and she finds a whole mess of blueprints and information, and even a little diary that has pretty much everything about the puzzle box and its configurations laid out. Like everything. The God Leviathan, the rewards for each configuration, the blood sacrifice, all of it. Okay, it's all just laid out, and she just accepts it. Like, as straight up fucking fact. And there's nothing off about any of this. Like, this is totally logical for her. All this weird blood sacrifice, puzzle box configuration shit is just a logical fucking line for her to figure out how to get Matt back. And the blood sacrifice thing doesn't seem to bother her at all. But so as she's studying this shit, she hears Matt call her name inside the mansion. So she goes to find it, and she finds Matt, like, in a separate room. When she sees him, she asks if it's really him, and his response is, "Do you want it to be?" Again, there's nothing suspect to her about this. Further, right next to Matt is a mirror that shows what he actually looks like, and it's right next to him, facing her. She should be able to see it just fine. Again, she doesn't. Now, she runs up and gives him a great big old bear hug, and when she does, she can feel his back is just like muscle and sinew. There's no skin on it. So she naturally freaks the fuck out. And when she does, she turns around to run away and runs right into Nora, Colin, and Trevor, who are just magically fucking there. So they all go upstairs, and Colin asks to talk to fucking Fat Lip McScruffyface, who then lays out her plan, and Colin, naturally again, looks at her like she's batshit fucking crazy. But again, it's gotta be her way or no way at all. So at this point, they all separate, and Nora ends up in a fucking secret passage in the wall. Fat Lip McScruffyface tries to show Colin all her proof, including the puzzle box, which is now missing. So Nora gets stabbed by the current configuration by some unknown assailant while in this hidden passage inside a fucking wall. Now she flips out, and everybody can hear her flip out, so she ends up running through and finds a way out, which just happens to be in that circular room that White Man McBadguy sacrificed stupid McFar Eyes at the very beginning. Even though Trevor and Colin have repeatedly tried to stop her and get her to leave this place, she has made it abundantly clear that there is nothing that can make her fucking stop doing this. She's going to get Matt back, even though she shouldn't even be aware that he's dead. But there's nothing that can get her to leave. Upon seeing the configuration in Nora's back, her instant reaction is, we have to fucking leave. So they all get up and they run outside and get in Trevor's fucking van and try to leave. Of course, it doesn't work out because Nora has now been blood marked, and Pinhead finally fucking shows up and does a kill with the Chatterer. And you actually see this kill, though it's pretty underwhelming. There's nothing too gruesome about it. Like, you see Nora get stabbed in the throat with one of Pinhead's needles, and you see the skin get ripped off her back, and she's kind of bent backward a little bit. Not even, like, severely, just a little bit. So, I mean, there's that death. And shortly after this death, which is actually in the van, and the idea behind it is kind of cool, but that's about it. The idea is cool, the execution's kind of lame. They wreck the van. Now, after they get out of the van, and the van is wrecked, Trevor says that they have to go back to the house so that they can get fucking Fat Lip McScruffyface's car, to which Colin is not happy about and tries to argue. Now, as Trevor and Colin are arguing, Fat Lip McScruffyface has the only fucking moment of self-thought or fucking agency where she's like, okay, this is enough. I'm done with this. I've finally seen somebody I know get fucking killed. Kind of. I'm done with this. I'm getting rid of the puzzle box. So she goes to try to throw the puzzle box in the fucking river. Pinhead stops her, talks her into continuing. She doesn't really buy it, so they pretty much blackball her into it by tricking her into stabbing herself with it. So Pinhead basically has her balls on the chopping block. Either you finish the ritual, or we sacrifice you. Colin and Trevor and Fat Lip McScruffyface all go back to the fucking house. On the way back to the house, the three of them get attacked by a chatterer, who opens a portal in the fucking ground and comes out of the ground, and then, because Fat Lip McScruffyface is the one that's marked, it goes after her. Now, she is lucky in this respect that she is behind a gate when Chatterer comes for her. Now, it grabs the gate and pushes it, breaks the hydraulics that run the gate, and pins her up against a wall with Trevor. So Trevor and Fat Lip McScruffyface are pinned between a gate and a wall with the Chatterer on the other side of the gate. Now, on the wall, there's a tiny hole, and she looks through and sees Pinhead, and she's standing there with a configuration that has the knife out. And so now Trevor tries to punch the Chatterer in the face, and the Chatterer just bites a hole in his fucking arm. At this moment, she goes to stab fucking the Chatterer, of all things, which I have a problem with. But so she stabs the Chatterer, and for some reason, the Chatterer counts as a blood sacrifice. So Pinhead uses its fucking chains on the Chatterer, and that completes that configuration. So she's only got one configuration left. Now, Trevor has a massive fucking hole in his arm, and he's bleeding out. Colin's with him, and he's totally fine. And Fat Lip McScruffyface takes the both of them back to the house. And they go into the house, and they shut the cage around the house. Now, for some dumb fucking reason, even though the Cenobites can open portals in moving vans, in fucking asylums, in the middle of the fucking road, basically wherever the hell their victim is at, they can open a portal and just be there. For some reason, they can't walk through this grate or open a portal on the other side of the cage covering this house. And do they ever explain why? No. They just can't seem to walk through a fucking metal cage. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but either way. So they're stuck on the outside. During this moment, Fat Lip McScruffyface gets the brilliant idea, why don't we just sacrifice one more of the Cenobites? We'll let it into the house, and then we'll stab it, and it'll all be done, and we can get Matt back, using the Lazarus or Resurrection reward. She's telling this to Colin. At this moment, Trevor has a fucking tourniquet on his arm and is passing out in, like, a living room or a hallway or something. While he's passing out, he suddenly gets woken up by none other than White Man McBadguy, who's been missing for 6 fucking years, and when he shows up, he has what looks to be like a fucking miniaturized golden fucking loom in his chest. And it has, like, 8 or 9 really thick strings that wrap around a cylinder on the front of his chest, around his spine, and through his entire body. And every minute or so, this thing winds up, and it causes him great pain. Of course, it's supposed to be a pleasure-pain kind of dual thing, but it doesn't look fucking pleasant. And apparently that was his reward. That's the reward he chose, the sensation reward of all the configurations and rewards you could choose from. Of course, it was too much for him, so now he wants out. He doesn't want this fucking thing anymore. And he apparently enlisted Trevor from the very beginning, so Trevor would sacrifice Fat Lip McScruffyface. Of course, it didn't go quite to plan, but either way, the plan is still one step away from being completed. Colin and Fat Lip McScruffyface come back to Trevor, who's awake now, and they explain the plan, so they're like, fuck it, let's go ahead. We'll let one of the Cenobites in, we'll sacrifice it, and this will all be done. So they go ahead with the plan, except when it goes to go off, of course, Fat Lip McScruffyface drops the fucking puzzle box. But fortunately, they trapped the Cenobite in the gate, so as the gate was closing, it kind of sandwiched the Cenobite in it. So it's pinned there, and it can't go anywhere. None of the other Cenobites can get in, but they don't have the configuration to stab the Cenobite with. So Trevor opens the one gate so that Colin can try to find the fucking configuration. When he's looking for it, he can't find it. He can't find it because White Man McBadguy already picked it up, and he turns around and stabs fucking Colin with it. Like this huge fucking, like, rip it up through his torso kind of stab. Which he should bleed out from, but he's really not bleeding very much from it at all. But either way, so White Man McBadguy exposes Trevor for the fucking evil bastard double agent that he is in front of Fat Lip McScruffyface, and now she's really pissed off. As Colin has been blood-marked now, the final sacrifice is coming, and Fat Lip McScruffyface tells Colin to run, so he gets up and runs down into a fucking, like, straight-up fuck dungeon that's in the bottom of this mansion, which is just a fitting place to run as a Cenobite's chasing you. But, so as the Cenobite is chasing Colin and about to kill him for the final sacrifice, Fat Lip McScruffyface sneaks out of the gate that the Cenobite is pinned at, takes the final fucking Leviathan configuration, and runs down to the fuck dungeon with Colin with it. Now, at the same time, she opened the gate so that Pinhead and the other Cenobites can come in. Because the house wasn't built with a cage around it to protect what was inside. It was actually to trap the Cenobites so that White Man McBadguy could force them to take this loom out of his fucking chest. Now, Pinhead explains that you can't return the gifts that are given. You can only exchange them. Now, while Pinhead's explaining that to White Man McBadguy, Colin is downstairs getting wrapped up with piano wire like fucking ridiculous, like around all his joints and his fucking ribs and all this shit. And Scruffy McFucking Fatlip decides to tell the fucking Cenobite that's down there that this wasn't the deal. She was supposed to have control over the box and who gets sacrificed. And because she knows that Trevor is a double agent now, she chooses him. She stabs him straight in the fucking chest with the not even the knife that's on the configuration, but the straight hole configuration. Thus, Trevor is sacrificed. Now, Colin has, like, bone-deep cuts on every joint, on every limb, not to mention a giant gash up through his torso, but he doesn't seem to be bleeding out. At one point, he actually says, "Go ahead, I'm fine." Which is complete and utter bullshit. But so, White Man McBadguy talks to Pinhead, and Pinhead talks him into changing his gift from sensation to power. So the loom falls out of his chest, leaving this giant gaping hole, which Wolverine-style heals itself, so he's happy as a pig in shit now. Oh, yes, I'm fine. Of course, 1 second later, a giant fucking, like, Titanic-sized hook chain flies through the ceiling and rips right through this chest, which was just healed, and carries him up into the sky. So now Pinhead and the other Cenobites ask Fatlip McScruffyfuck what her reward is. What does she want? And she chooses nothing, which is called the Lament configuration, or Life configuration. So Pinhead makes a nice little speech. She leaves with fucking Colin, who should be fucking dead just from blood loss, but seems to be totally fine. And that's the end of their story. It then cuts to White Man McBadguy, who's getting turned into a Cenobite, which is the power reward, or Leviathan reward. You get to be a Cenobite. And that's probably the most graphic part of the movie. And it's only about 30 seconds long, and it's at the very end. So, yeah, there's the plot for fucking Hellraiser 2022. The issues I have with this. 1. The fucking puzzle box was handled all wrong, okay? The puzzle box never had anything to do with blood or a knife and blood marking and a blood sacrifice. It was the intent behind the person who wanted it open. Now, if that coincided with the person who actually opened it, like it did in Hellraiser 1 and Frank, fine. But they show you in Hellraiser 2 that just because you're the one who physically opened the box, it doesn't mean that you're the one who wanted it open and knew what was coming. They explain that. It has nothing to do with blood. Changing the mythology in that direction is watering it down. You're taking so much away from it at that point. Okay? I mean, we're already dealing with heaven and hell and demons, Cenobites. So making it the blood sacrifice removes the soul or intent part of it. So, I mean, you're greatly watering it down at that point. It's just a shitty way to handle it. Okay? Also, the puzzle box never had multiple configuration rewards. That's not how it worked. I mean, there were different configurations of it, but each configuration didn't have a sacrifice, and after you sacrificed so many, there was a great reward. There was a very specific process that you had to go through. And there was most people who went after the box had a masochistic or sadist desire to open it. They were trying to find greater pain and pleasure mixed together. And that's the other thing that they didn't get right about this version of the puzzle box either. At the end, even Roland says that it's twisted, it's just about pain, and that's not right. There was a dichotomy between pain and pleasure. It was pushing pleasure to the point of pain, or pushing pain to the point of pleasure. The pleasures of the flesh, you know? Enjoy suffering. Repulsive glamour was the phrase that Clive Barker used. So, I mean, they fucked the puzzle box up. It looks nice in its Lament configuration, I'll give it that. But they didn't, they're not using it right. It's not a reimagining, you just fucked it up. It'd be like making Freddy's claws butter knives, or fucking a Swiss Army knife, and then saying I'm reimagining it. You can't do that. There's an established mythos behind this shit. Have some respect for that. 2, they fucked up Pinhead, okay? And no, it's not just because Pinhead's a fucking female in this one, which you can barely even tell anyway. But they changed the fucking attire. The attire is supposed to be black leather, like S&M kind of shit. It's supposed to be like an inverse reflection of a mixture of priest garb and a butcher's apron and S&M gear, along with the torn flesh and all that shit. That's how it's supposed to look, okay? And none of these Cenobites have any actual clothing. Not one of them. They put pearls on the end of all the pins they use, which is technically correct according to the book, but it kind of looks ridiculous since there's no balance in the fucking outfit. Pinhead's, like, you never see Pinhead full body in great detail. You only ever see Pinhead full body from far away, so you can't tell. But the garments, which is, I guess, supposed to be hanging flesh in this one, it's just all white. It doesn't look right. And the gold coins in its neck don't look fucking right either. Then all the Cenobites have the same crappy fucking, you know, royalty-free voice sound. You know, it's that standard male-female reverb demon voice that they use on everything. The original Doug Bradley's Pinhead had an iconic voice. Okay, that was unique to that character. All these fucking Cenobites sound the same. I mean, Pinhead sounds slightly more female, but still not really noticeable. You could swap it in and out with another. And then on top of that, this movie has no fucking decent... It has no soundtrack at all, really. The entire sound design for this fucking movie is nothing but bass drops and fucking metal clangs. And it's that crappy reverb bass that you hear in every fucking movie now where they're trying to, you know, push suspense. Wow! And that's it. It's literally the first thing you hear when this movie starts, which is ridiculous. But other than that, there's no soundtrack in this fucking movie. And the first and the rest of the Hellraisers, it was a fucking orchestral theme. It was an amazing fucking soundtrack. This fucking garbage. Nothing there. Then on top of that, again, we have another fucking female protagonist that is fucking unlikable. There's nothing about this chick that is fucking likable. Her fat, swollen, chapped upper lip is fucking irritating to look at. The girl has no goddamn charisma, and her character in of itself is completely unlikable. She's just a walking me factory. It's all I want to do at any moment in time, and fuck anybody else, regardless of how right they may be. It doesn't matter. Me. Okay? None of the other characters are even identifiable. Of course, unless you can just identify with somebody's fucking race or sexuality. I identify with this person because they're gay. I identify with this person because they're Asian, or they're British, or they're fucking white. That's it. There's no other character development. You don't know anything about these fucking people, other than their sexual preference and what their first fucking name is. You don't even get a full name out of these people. Okay? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And there were opportunities to... You don't even get a fucking development out of the bad guy. You don't know what his main motivation is, other than he's the bad guy, and he does it because he's evil. What drove him to this point? Why is he like this? It can't just be because he's rich and white. That's fucking stupid. They didn't do it well, okay? What, the first 3 fucking kills in this movie you don't even get to see? The first kill that you do get to see is fucking lame. Okay? Wow, you see a pin stuck through a bitch's throat and the skin gets pulled off her back. Ooh, boogie. That's really fucking, you know, Hellraiser for you. I mean, Christ, in the original Hellraiser, you saw a dude resurrect from a drop of blood. And you saw the whole thing. The heart, the bones, the sinew, the fucking goop, the foulness of him resurrecting and it all forming and all the deaths and it just... Give me a fucking break, man. I mean, it's Hulu and Disney. This is why you can't have Disney R-rated content. You can't have a decent Hellraiser from Disney. Because this is what you're gonna get. Half of the kills in the movies aren't shown on screen. The other half are fucking pathetic. I mean, the only blood splash we saw was a blood splash for a body that wasn't even there. I mean, that's like fucking Nightmare on Elm Street 5, where Invisible Freddy kills a kid. Freddy wasn't even in the damn scene. Like, give me... None of Pinhead's dialogue was fucking worth a damn. Like, none of it. Where was the...
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering. We'll tear your soul apart. Oh, you suffer beautifully. But I am here for business, not pleasure. Do I look like someone who cares what God thinks?
The best line from the Cenobites that was delivered by that fucking half-assed mashup Cenobite who said, "Save your breath for the screaming." That was the best line delivered by the Cenobites, and it wasn't even delivered by Pinhead. It was delivered by a fucking half-assed version of Deep Throat and Angelique, which is another thing they fucked up, okay? You're supposed to see her skull in that Cenobite. Like, the flesh is supposed to be cut, and it's supposed to open up over her skull. You're supposed to see the veins and the fucking bone. Like, they couldn't even do that right. Come on. It's really not that difficult, man. You had all that money and all that scope, and you fucking choked on it. It's irritating. It's fucking irritating. I mean, even the Chatterer's death was fucking lame. You know, he just backed up, gave up, and then... You know, they did that same death in Hellraiser 1, and it was way better. But this one, it literally just pulls him apart, and it's about 2 seconds. You don't really see anything. It's just real quick. Why? Because it's fucking Hulu and Disney. It's an embarrassing fucking remake, and they can call it a reimagining all they want, but like it says in the title, it's a reimagining with no fucking imagination. And the only reason Clive Barker's name is on it as a producer is because he legally has to be. That's why there are fucking 9 other producers other than Clive Barker, and he's not even an executive producer, so you know he didn't have any fucking creative control at all. So we get a whole fucking cast of unlikable, undeveloped fucking characters. Why do I care if any of these people die? I don't know anything about them. I haven't identified with any of them. Not fucking one, because I don't know anything about them. The main character is fucking unlikable. There's another fucking... We're just gonna throw the name on a shitty story and try to pass it off and hope it works. I mean, how many other I mean, Jesus Christ, you fucked up Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser, Leprechaun, fuck, what else? Halloween? You gonna fuck up, like, Phantasm and Critters now? Like, where are you gonna go from here? What other 80s property can you fucking jam up your ass and then shit out for us? Hellraiser 2022. Garbage. Hot fucking garbage.